Welcome to a parts autopsy between genuine Bearmach and Britpart examples of the lower front door seals as fitted to the rounded Puma doors from 2011 onwards. These can be retrofitted to the rounded doors from 2005 onwards if you drill holes in your door. So after that adrenaline-filled intro, most of this video is a totally subjective, opinionated, slow analysis comparing the different aspects of each part one at a time. So the short version of this video is that you get what you pay for. I think that the genuine seals are the best and they cost the most. The Bearmach seals are average quality and average price. And the Britpart are the worst quality and are the cheapest. A big thank you to all the supporters of LR Workshop that allows me to buy a part of every brand so that I can review them for you all in detail. Keep watching to see how I came to my conclusion. In terms of country of origin, genuine one's made in Poland and the Bearmach one made in India, Britpart one made in China. So by definition, I guess they cannot be made in the same factories from the get-go. In terms of packaging, actually the genuine one's the worst. I mean, it came folded up like this inside this little bit of cellophane. The Britpart one is a bit more sturdier than the Bearmach one. Quite a bit bigger there. It's really interesting when you start to look at these in more detail because you really see where the quality. You kind of think, there's a genuine one, how could they make it worse? How could you not make it to the same quality? But you really can see that in some of this. So we've got genuine, Bearmach, Britpart. So I'm just going to look at some of the key sort of features on this because they're made in different factories. Now, I guess the interesting thing is, here, they've all got this almost identical kind of rail. It's a solid rail along the top here. A flat section, it's got the grooves in the same place. And they're all made from this kind of similar, here's the genuine one, it's got this sort of round pipe essentially with this squarish bit on top that's kind of then folded over and glued on here. And they've all got the similar sort of, so that was the genuine one, this is the Bearmach one. Got this tube here. The solid bit, and same with the Britpart as well. It's kind of this tube and it's cut and folded over. So they're very much made with the same production process, it seems like. So the genuine one here, got that bit folded down. There's the Bearmach, same again. And the Britpart, same again. But you can start to see the quality difference. So here we've got quite accurate cutting and folded over. There's a little kind of notch elbow there which shows you exactly where you should be putting the folded down bit to glue it on. Here, still got that notch, and the gluing's not quite in the right place on the Bearmach. And then the Britpart one, it's not folded over quite so neatly on there, and you can tell with the rubber, the seam on the rubber here, it's not trimmed as nicely as you would expect. So I guess that's quality, you can see there. And I guess as well this is done by hand because there's some variability in how this is stuck down. We can also see from these cutouts here, so this is essentially like a drain hole. I think there's a drain hole in the door that comes down through here. So the genuine one, we can see here what this is actually made of. So it's EPDM foam basically. You can see in there, and it's cut pretty straightly. The Bearmach one, same sort of material. That's also cut relatively straightly. It's a bit wonky on there. And then when we get to the Britpart one, totally wonky cut. You can tell that it's basically just somebody with a knife in the factory. And the problem with the Britpart one is that they've cut in here. They've actually started cutting in and changed the structure, affected the structure of the entire seal in there. It's obviously somebody doing it a lot quicker with a knife and not paying as much attention. If we look on the outer edge, we've got this kind of groove, which I guess is where the door frame presses up against the B-post on the front door, or on the bulkhead side, or actually against the door sill. And I guess this is there to sort of channel water perhaps away from the door and around. You can see on the genuine one, it's quite well formed. The Bearmach one slightly well formed, and in terms of its being a sharp ridge with a sharp kind of catchment lip on there. Bearmach one, still got a bit of a lip. The Britpart one is basically just a bump, so it's kind of not really a sharp face as such. It's more just a ridge. The other thing we can look at is these clips on here. So we've got genuine Bearmach in the middle, Britpart on the right. These clips are different. They're sourced from different places. And if we look at them inside here, we'll see that they are different clips. So the genuine one here, it's kind of like a short, square, stubby Christmas tree. These two are a lot longer. So the outer face, different. Other than that, they're pretty much identical. So it looks like one's been copied from the other, but they're a copy of the same design, but they're manufactured in different places. In terms of dimensions, it's difficult to tell really, but they're very similar. They are very similar. Although the Britpart one, the grooves may be in a different place compared to, this will be the reference point here. So I guess it's where when this goes in the hole, what's the ceiling going to be like? That looks like it may be a bit. Let's leave Bearmach out for the moment. If we put these two bits flush, they do appear to be pretty much in the same place. So at least they've got the dimensions right. For the clips underneath, the genuine ones, similarly to the other clips, are kind of short and stubby. The Bearmach ones are a lot longer, like that. Very different design. Just measuring these clips to check out their tolerances. So the genuine one, pretty much on 6.5 in terms of the width of the wings on this thing, which will be essentially how much gripping it's got once it's pushed through the hole. How much grip there is on there. The Britpart one, sorry, the Bearmach one, very close. It's about pretty much bang on the same. They're slightly less tolerance. If they're working to a 6.5mm tolerance, then there's a bit less tolerance on these parts. There we go. And the Britpart one I think is smaller, which isn't good actually. I'm trying to do this without compressing the wings. Let's come up close here. I think you'll agree that that's not compressing the wings on there. We've got 6.23. Go back to the Bearmach. We have to go wider. That won't fit down over. So I'd say Bearmach, if this one's pretty much bang on 6.5, I would say the Bearmach is more accurate in terms of dimensions of the clip. And even though these clips look identical design there, well, more or less, actually there's less. You'll see there the clips, this has got more. I guess this has got the spring back, so that once you pushed it in, it springs back. This one doesn't have that, so they're not the same clips. And this one is definitely got a lot less diameter, so there's more chance that the Britpart one's gonna fall out. The Bearmach one's got a better chance. The Land Rover one, similarly, he's got an extra casting down there, which allows it to spring back and therefore hold it in the hole. So there's a chance that the Britpart ones would actually fall out of the doors at some point. In terms of placement of these holes, which will be one of the most important things as well, This is genuine on the bottom, Bearmach compared. Yeah, they're pretty much identically placed, which is good. A lot of Land Rover parts aren't identically placed, and you kind of think, how the hell did you get that wrong? But they pretty much line up, and then do Britpart to the genuine. It's different with the flex, but difficult with the flex, but there we go. Yeah, they're pretty much lined up in the same place. In terms of rubber quality, that's probably the bit that has the most difference. You might be able to tell on screen, or maybe you can't. You can kind of see that the material is slightly different. The genuine one, it's got a lot more volume in here, so this is got a lot more sponge to it. It's also got holes in here, so presumably when you shut the door it's going to let the air out in there. The Bearmach one, it's got a bit of volume to it, but it's quite flat. It's like it's already compressed most of the way. Whereas the genuine one is a lot a lot fatter in that respect. Britpart one feels smaller in its diameter, but it's a bit more I think the smaller diameter pipe there, so there's less material, therefore there's a less of a volume inside, an airspace inside, so you're potentially not going to have as much flex and as much compression and surface area when it's compressed for the sealing action on there. I think the dimensions are slightly reduced on that. But where you really notice the difference is in the structure. So I'm going to do like a flick test on this. I didn't know exactly how to do this, but I think a flick test is probably quite appropriate. So I'm going to pin them at the corner here. This is the genuine one. You see how much more the genuine one, it doesn't waggle back and forward, you just flick it and it comes back. Whereas these two, they've got a bit of a jiggle to them. And particularly the Bearmach, particularly the Britpart one. What I would say in terms of quality of the material, this one is basically like bike in a tube. It's exactly like bike in a tube. It's got that kind of dusty white surface on it. I think it's just bike in a tube basically. Bearmach one, it's more similar. It's kind of like smooth. You can feel it's kind of like a bit, it's very smooth. It's got a kind of a furry texture, even though it's not furry, but it kind of feels that way. The genuine one, you can kind of feel that it's like, this form feels more like a wetsuit. The genuine one feels more like a wetsuit material. This one's kind of a hybrid. This one feels like a bike in a tube. That's probably the most striking difference between the three. This one is, a lot floppier. The material's a lot less sound. This one's a lot stronger. That probably has an impact on the sealing quality. So there we go, folks. There's a lesson for you there that I'm sure everyone's experienced before. You get what you pay for. And in this scenario, this one's about 3 times the cost of this one. This one's the middle ground. I think I would buy genuine personally. I possibly might go Bearmach, but having seen this, no way would I go Britpart. It's just not worth it. Considering the difference between these two is about £3, £6 for both doors. It's just not worth it. There's no argument there. The problem is that where Britpart really make their money is people look at this and say, "That's £3 difference." Like, how could they be that different? Well, I think I've shown how they could be that different, and it's just £3. You know what I mean? Vote with your wallet. Vote for what you want. Vote for the quality. Even if you can't afford or don't want to pay genuine prices, just vote for that little bit more. Britpart, make sure that they always come first in the list because they are the cheapest. People generally sort, on websites, price low to high. Britpart comes out first by that. And that's unfortunately where we get to. We buy shit, we'll get shit. I've said it before. that's the way it is. I guess what's apparent here is that, you know, Bearmach and genuine are probably more similar. Now, obviously, the wholesalers, they work down to a cost to a certain extent. They take the genuine and say, how can I make this, you know, cheaper? Now, these aren't OEM because this one's made in Poland, this one's made in India. So they're probably different manufacturers. But you could imagine this one, you know, give this to a, you know, company in India and say, can you make one of these? And I want it to be under £15 or £10 wholesale or something. So you can see they kind of put it together, and they've followed very much a similar construction technique. But, you know, it's just slightly, you can tell the quality is very different. You know, this bit, you know, this moulding bit here or melted bit or whatever it may be. But, you know, generally the construction is very similar. They've not taken an off-the-shelf part from a different manufacturer and tried to shoehorn it into Land Rover. They tried to at least replicate, so genuine on the bottom here, they've tried to at least replicate the production processes that go into making this seal. Or maybe it's just a more standard way of making car seals, and it's that we never had on Defenders before, and it's quite easy to replicate. But yeah, there's another example. You can see the rubber. This is genuine, that's a Bearmach one. Difference is quite apparent in terms of the material that comes off of it. The product that comes out, you know, a wavy bit of rubber there. But in terms of, you know, procuring this stuff, I think Bearmach may have been the first ones to market with this. And you can kind of, there's an assumption here that Bearmach said, like, let's try and make the genuine one and make it to a certain cost. Britpart realised that Bearmach had done this and was selling them. And they said, they went to their supplier in China and said, I want this Bearmach one, but I want it to be made cheaper. So it's kind of like a copy of a copy. That's what it feels like, which is, and it is cheaper. This one's circa, I'll put the prices on the screen, I can't remember exactly, but you've essentially got most expensive, less expensive, cheapest. You know, either the other way it happened is that Britpart made one and Bearmach thought we can make it better, but they don't tend to run things on quality, they tend to run things on price. So Bearmach probably made it originally and Britpart said, I want that, but cheaper. That's generally how Britpart operate. They always go down to a price and negotiate hard on quantities and prices and things like that. And quality really comes second. It really does. Either quality control or just the skills of the workforce are less, or maybe they're just pushing them out quicker. How can you make something cheaper where you use lesser quality materials? Well, this is bike in a tube, feels like, compared to this, which is probably some kind of, you know, more neoprene content perhaps. If that's actually, this is EPDM, I don't know exactly what's involved, but I know that this one feeling more like wetsuit material, and they're made of neoprene. That's just an assumption there. So they've reduced reduced the specification of the material, less quality control or less skilled workforce, or maybe just pushing it through quicker, meaning they have to cut this in, you know, in like 2 seconds, whereas this one they may have 5 seconds to cut. So they've got less time or rather they make more in the same amount of time, therefore the quality of what comes out is a lot less. And then they just source the clips that they have available, as opposed to trying to find, you know, the same supplier as the genuine one. And then there's production processes. So here the seam bonding, you know, presumably that's a quicker production process or less tolerance in the machinery. That means that the seam doesn't come out quite so, you know, accurately and compared to the genuine one, which is, you know, it can be. I think a lot of it will come down to time. You know, if you have to leave, you know, this thing in the mould for an extra few seconds so that it cools down so you can cut the seam and it all comes out nicely, as opposed to just pushing the stuff through as quickly as possible, you know, cutting a few corners here or there. So that's how you can produce more for the same time and therefore get a reduced cost of manufacture. But I think that's what's happened. I think here what we've got is the evolution of, you know, an example of constructing something down to costs. You start with what would be considered to be what's required of a reasonable quality to do the job by a car manufacturer, and then we move down the degradation to the bottom of the cesspit the slippery slope that is building down to price instead of up to quality. Anyway, give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe for more reviews of parts in future. If you've got any other suggestions of parts you would like me to review, comparing Britpart, Bearmach, all makes, genuine or other brands, then let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.